Thank you for coming today. Little more people than we anticipated, but that's an awesome thing. We had a number in our head and we doubled it, and I think we're bigger than that. So, welcome. For those I think everybody knows me, but for the family that doesn't know me, I'm Mr. Bevan. I'm a teacher here. We are hosting this morning this afternoon with Tombert. He's there getting some chairs. The format for this celebration of life for Mr. Riach or Bill, we have various names for him. So you'll hear a bunch of different names through the course of the afternoon. Let's see if I can remember. There was Ricky. For a while, he was called Billiam. I don't know where that came from. It's a combination of Bill and William, right? It's like Billiam. Riach, and there's probably a bunch that I don't remember. Yeah. He liked his head rubbed a lot. That was the kids. Joy would come to his room and rub his head and rub his tummy. For good luck. Yeah. So this is going to be fairly loosely arranged, a typical style of Bill. I see that none have or his, because we coached for a while together, are in official Riach formal attire. Nobody gets the prize because everybody's wearing long pants. I think in 15 or 17 years of working with Bill, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe 3 times I saw him in long pants. And that's questionable. That number 3 is questionable. Do you remember, I don't think I ever saw him. No, I don't. Grad dinner and dance. So a formal was long pants. Everything else was shorts and a golf shirt. The same one. For 15 years. Right? Yeah. Check the pictures. There's evidence. So, welcome. I would like to acknowledge the family that's here, Victoria, and Mark, and yes, I wrote it down. I feel like I'm in class. Anything you want to say, Robert? We're co-hosting, so it's a bit of back and forth. Absolutely nothing is scripted, just so you know. It's pretty. We'll see how it goes. It'll be fun. It'll be a celebration of life.
Yeah, we're just so thankful that so many people. Turn something off?
Yeah, turn it on.
Oh,
the tape is in. Yeah.
Okay. We're just thankful that so many people have come by. As you know, I mean, Bill lived most of his life here, and we would have held it in his classroom, but there's no way we could fit all of you in there. Like at his table, having his pen and his coffee, and just scribbling everywhere. You know what? It's just amazing. It's a tribute to have an incredible amount of students through his career that are here. Because even though, sometimes he had that grumpy look on his face, and I think you know what I'm talking about, he demonstrated love. Right? It may not always been with words, but with his actions, he loved the students. There's no doubt about it. And so those who walked in and out through his doors or on and off the gym floor, his grumbling, and maybe there's some of the shouting, he loved you. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that we wanted to have an opportunity to share is we have a wonderful singer in our school who's done on many, many occasions, and she's going to bring us a wonderful tune for us today that Riach loved. So Lisa, Suklo, if you can come up. Oh, and tribute, my apologies.
So part of the reason why this is early in the program is because she has another major singing event that she has to attend.
So I just thought these pictures kind of depict our relationship. Definitely silly fun, a lot of fun with Riach, and absolutely loving, the biggest, kindest heart. So I thought these pictures depicted that quite well. So yeah, I just want to give a little tribute. So I'm so thankful to have taught in the room beside Riach for over, I think, 18 years. I think he was here in 99, I think. And to be able to witness firsthand the passion he exuded for both teaching, coaching, and even more so for his beloved students that I would constantly see by his side. Especially he loved playing chess and cards at lunch. I'd love to see a show of hands who those students were that loved playing cards and chess and being coached. Let's see, all the students are being coached by him too. I know, if you look around, look at all these students here today. Amazing. His heart was so big, and from seeing all these beautiful faces here today, it reveals how big his impact really was on all of our lives. I'll always remember him asking me when we greeted each other in the morning, how's Palsy doing? He always had nicknames. He always loved last names too, and half the time, I remember at wards meetings, you wouldn't even know the students' names, you just know their nicknames. We'd get caught up on our lives before we started the day. Over the 18 years of working together, we've shared so many memories, including him showing me his personal VHS video of his laser eye surgery he had done before I got mine done, thinking it'd make me feel better seeing it beforehand, but seeing his eye get sliced open on a big screen didn't quite have that effect. He was there for so many of my important milestones in my life. Okay, I might get emotional. Okay, from my marriage in 2004 to the birth of both my kids in 2006 and 2009, and I can't forget my favorite pic of us with my 9-month pregnant belly gets his belly up on our classroom walls. He had the best sense of humor, and here's the pic today. I hope he feels our presence today, how much he meant to us, and how loved he was. He will forever be in our hearts. One of his favorite songs was Danny Boy, an Irish folk song that he requested sung in his retirement. He loved music and poetry, and of course, many of us know he was such a talented poet, and I think Jana had put some of his poetry books over there by the side. It feels fitting to sing this beautiful song / poem in memory of our precious Riach. Compose myself. Okay, here we go. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and we must bide. But come you back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow, and we'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Billy boy, we love you so. Can you sing that last line with me? Oh, Billy boy, we love you so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for that. That was absolutely beautiful. Just so you know, a little bit later on, we will have some time. We would love for you to share your stories as well. Which ones have tickled you? Which ones have you cried over? Which ones will you never forget? And if you wouldn't mind, we would love for you to be able to share them. And it's maybe it's your precious memory, but maybe that can also be part of everyone's here as well, as we remember Bill and how he's touched so many lives over the decades, which is absolutely astounding. He's touched hundreds, thousands of lives over decades, and we're all one of them. And so later on, we would love for you to have an opportunity to come up and share as well. It might be a little bit scary, but you are really going to help all of us as well as we hear some more stories that maybe we didn't know about. And when later on you have a chance, I can take a look at the table. I didn't know that he was a runner. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen Bill run at all. Have you? No. If he did, he was probably trying to chase one of the volleyball guys. What are you doing? But I just can't imagine him running. So we now have some thoughts shared by some people who are in and out of his room on a constant basis. Please help me, Jana, Bim, and Marcy, who worked years and years with him, in and out. I'm sure they felt his wrath, but they knew his love even better. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcy Cameron, and I had the pleasure of working with Riach. We always used last names. For 7 years while working here at Burnett. Excuse me. Riach called me Lambert from day one, and then when I got remarried, he called me Cameron. It was just his way. He was a kind, well-humored, intelligent man who taught me many things about teaching and how to connect with students at their level. He also taught me math, which for many years was like Greek to me, but somehow he made it just a wee bit easier. I truly thank him for that, and so does my banker. He was a generous man with his time and caring nature. Students flocked to his room at break time to share a laugh with him or just spend time in the safe space Bill created. Over the years, Jana, Bim, and I stayed in touch with Bill and often visited him for his birthday. Bill loved his wee special cakes and was never one to turn down a treat or two. Bill will be missed by many who knew him as a teacher, a colleague, or as a friend, but he will never be forgotten for all the love and support he gave his students. We will miss you, Bill. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Bim. I have known Bill for a number of years, and my journey to meeting such a great man and teacher started right here at Burnett. I was a practicum student placed here at Burnett, in later years to become part of the staff as an EA. I worked alongside Bill and Jana, his right hand. Their approach to learning and helping students was far from textbooks and more with understanding, firstly, of ourselves as teachers. Building trust and rapport was vital in any learning to take place. Bill understood students, and they, in return, trusted him. His room was a magnet to all who came. You played cards, games, or just had a chat with a spot of tea on the side. His love and passion for work he did was immeasurable. His drive to help all who came his way, not giving up, was true to his character and personality. Where there's a will, there's a way. Riach believed in all students had potential, a gift, a talent, an interest regardless of their academic level. What some see as kids falling through the cracks, he viewed those cracks as pathways to the untapped potential. Riach impacted many lives, young and old. His gift to others was a gift of himself. He climbed mountains for you and made you see a better you. Students had utmost respect for him. He was like a second dad to some. Riach was a true staple at Burnett, and I'm glad I got to meet and work alongside this man. He climbed mountains for you and made you see a better you. Sorry, I think I already said that, didn't I? I had many good memories at Burnett, and it was because of Bill and his dedication to his work and his students. I will miss him. I'm sure he's up there settling in, his iconic brown teapot and the endless cups of tea, playing cards. Thank you, Riach.
Thank you. I have a whole bunch of stories because I spent lots of time with Bill. Did you know that he had red hair as a kid? Yeah, I never saw it ever in the years that I knew him. So the little bit that we have got over the years, his family emigrated to Canada when he was just a kid, and his tells stories of his first day of school in Canada, going to school in a kilt because that's what you do from Scotland, right? Like that's maybe why he didn't wear pants. That just dawned on me. Yeah, that's why he didn't wear pants, because he was born into a kilt. Then I think it's also funny that his favorite song is Irish. And he's Scottish. I don't know. Anyway. He also tells a funny story of preemptive strikes, he would call it. So he would be walking across the kitchen and he would get whacked in the butt by his mom's dish towel. And he would turn around and go, "What was that for?" And she goes, "That's a preemptive strike." Because sooner or later, he was going to have to need it. He also told us of times, so he grew up in Kitsilano, and when I moved to Vancouver, there was still the brewery there in Kitsilano at, what? Yes, 10th and Vine, yes. And apparently, as a youngster, they used to discover things at night around the brewery through windows and explore. So that gives you the nature of Bill, of what what he did. The other story, I can see it. So he would get in trouble with his mom, okay? And then she'd like, "Go downstairs, go talk to your dad." So he'd walk downstairs and dad would be like, "Okay, when I hit the table, scream." "What?" "Ah!" And you come upstairs. "Good job, now you'll learn something." "Yeah, I learned." So that's some stories of sort of his childhood that turned into his adulthood, and he was still a prankster all those years. Next, we have a former student and player, and I'd like to invite Peter to come say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to speak at the celebration of who I consider to be one of the most influential persons in my life. My name is Peter, and I'm just one among many students whose lives have been positively impacted by Mr. Riach during my time at Burnett. I first met Riach not long after I was cut from the grade A boys volleyball team. At the time, I didn't take the sport seriously. I had no idea if I was going to continue to play it afterwards. And then I stopped by Mr. Riach's open gym, and I soon realized how much I loved the sport and how much he cared about his students. And so began my early morning routine of waking up at 6 a.m. every morning for the next 3 years. It wasn't easy, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't at times taxing my body, but it made me a much better athlete, a much more disciplined student, and created some of the best memories I've had at Burnett. I was lucky enough to be named the team captain for the boys volleyball team in grade 12. And on the same day he told me the news, he told me to go sweep the floor as the guys were coming into the gym during practice. I knew what he was doing. He wasn't asking me to beat the captain, but to be the leader. Not to tell the team what to do, but to show by example what it's like to be responsible and accountable for the well-being of the team. The highlight of our grade 12 season with Riach was probably winning our first tournament trophy at Douglas College. Unfortunately, we were told that the trophy wasn't available and that it was going to be mailed to our office, his office. And this day, we're still patiently waiting for its arrival. Mr. Riach wrote the reference letter for my university mission, and the reference letter to my first job. However, I never got the chance to thank him in person until 2 years after the fact. When I visited him, I thought he might be upset that I never got in touch with him all these years. What he did instead was gave me the biggest hug and told me that he couldn't have been happier to see me. Riach saw the potential in every kid that was sat in his class and walked in his gym. He would never give up on you unless you give up on yourself. While I never had the chance to attend his classes, I was lucky enough to have been his student. I always have and always will take his lessons with me. Riach, while your journey may have ended, your story continues through each of us. You'll always be remembered, be loved, and your legacy will continue to inspire us. Farewell, my dear friend and beloved mentor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm kind of shocked. I didn't realize anyone got cut from his team. I'm just thinking to myself, you must have been really bad. So those 3 years of working out in the mornings, finally you got the team captain. Wow, I was just like, why did he cut someone? Because that was one of his rules, never cut anyone. I think as well, because I help coach here at Burnett, and so Riach would always like book all the. We'd be fighting each other to book the gym all the time, and I was like, how come he got so many hours? How come he's got so many hours? But you know what? It was never an issue in the end because it's always for the kids. That's what it's always been about, right? And so yeah, he'd be down in that room for all times, but all the other hours were over there in the gym. And obviously, I can see the smiles on your face for those guys who knew about that. That's who he was, right? Spending time with you, dedicating himself to you in so many different ways. I think to myself too when I'm walking down the hallways, and as I walk past, he'd shout out, "Tom, come in here!" And I'm thinking, and I've told him the same thing. It's Tom Burt, and he's still calling me, "Okay, Tom." Right? It's like, and so I gave up too, Jen. But he'd call me into his room. And there's times, of course, there's lots of kids in there, but there's times when there wasn't anyone there. There were those rare moments. And he'd sit me down and he would give me some wisdom. He'd tell me more about like what it is like to care for young people, to be incredibly patient with them, and tough love. Tough, but love him. And those are kind of the things, the tidbits that I remember from him, and advice that I can still carry even now. And so I'm very, very thankful for those sit downs. Tom, come in here. Well, let's hear some more thoughts as well. So please welcome up Pierre Sampson.
Hi, I worked with him for about 10 years. And I think my most special memory, I worked with a kid in Vancouver with special needs that loved basketball. And I asked him, I don't know, because there wasn't anything for him in Vancouver for basketball. He said, well, let's set up a league. Let's help him get some basketball. And we got a bunch of kids together, and his basketball kids ran the program. And we ran it for quite a few years. He just showed such dedication to the kids he worked with, and he just loved them so much, and he would do everything for them. He just lived for the kids he worked with. I also remember his sense of humor. I would be busy with kids, and he would tell me to come and play cards, but he would always pull out the hair on my legs on the table as we were playing cards. And he called me Sammy. And and I came back for a number of years as a mental health worker for the school district, and he always had enormous hugs for everybody. And he was just such a blessing to so many kids. I still work with kids. I still use his lessons. I still use his ideas in all the things I do. And he just always showed love to everybody that he knew. Thank you.
On with the story. So the team goes on a Wednesday or Thursday night, off they go without me, and then they go away. And this suspended player, who was a tall left-handed player with a letter as a nickname, H, just if that, sorry, I told you I was going to roast you. I did. Then comes Monday morning. They're back from the tournament, and the office is like erupted because there's stuff's going on. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, H came to Courtney. I'm like, what? Yeah, he came by himself to Courtney and played in the tournament. I'm like, oh, okay. Soon I get a phone call. I'm in the office. So no, I didn't know anything. No, nothing. Yeah, he's suspended. Yeah, no, I didn't know he went. No, I didn't know he played. No, I had nothing to do with it. The next person beside me is Bill's in the office, of course. I think that a letter ended up in some file or something. I think that's how it happened. Anyway, so he was willing to put his job on the line for his players and for his team. It's a bit extreme to do that, but I'm pretty sure if it were to happen tomorrow, he would do it again. I'm pretty sure. It's a bit extreme example, but that's what he would do for all his players, all his people in his class. If you walked through the front door of the school, you got the same as the kids in his resource kids on the court. Everybody was treated equally. So that's the one story that I kind of bit extreme and funny, but just goes to show what he really felt for kids.
His mother didn't think it was funny at the time.
I know. I'm like, okay, that was grade 11 or 12. Grade 11. I'm like, okay, this kid's pretty resourceful. He got from Richmond to Courtney all by himself. I know how Ricky found out. He found out because he did a room check. There's this extra kid in the room. It's like, what are you doing here? Oh, I came to play. You're just, I know, but anyway, yeah. So that kind of sums up sort of Riach's dedication to his students. And this goes to show again, as everybody said, the number of students that are here. We were his family. We still are his family. He touched every one of us in many different ways. So the next person we would like to ask is Asan.
No, you don't get to say any stories about me.
I have lots of more stories about you. I can truly say that Asan is where he is today is because what Bill did.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to try to get through this without crying or crying too much, but I do not promise that. And so Bevy will have to jump in with an anecdote or two. I don't think I have to say much, in terms of the number of people in this room. It speaks volumes, to the man that Riach was. He was kind, he was compassionate, and he was dedicated. And the impact that he had on the lives of so many such a privilege to be here to celebrate his life with you. I will say my work, I bill people by every 6-minute increment, so I'm usually able to talk a lot, so you'll also have to pull the chain if I'm talking too much. But if you'll allow me to share with you a couple of stories about Riach. I'll first open up with the one that about his philosophy of cutting children. I was one of the beneficiaries of that philosophy. He would often joke that I didn't know the difference between a watermelon and a volleyball when I first walked into the gym, and it's not far from the truth. And I went from there to captaining his grade 12 volleyball team. And it was that spirit, that vision, that philosophy of allowing kids to show themselves, to show to themselves that, even though they didn't have the skills in the moment, that they could develop them, they could apply themselves, and that they could do such great things with their lives, with the skills that they could develop. And about his early morning practices, my family moved away from Richmond when I was in grade 10. But I graduated from Burnett. And how that happened was Riach made a deal with my mom. He used to live in Kitsilano. And he made a deal to pick me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, every single day for 2 years. And he always showed up. Every single morning, 6 a.m., sure as clockwork, Riach was there. There were times when him and I were fighting about something I said in the car, or some volleyball thing he'd come up, attack blocking he had made up, whatever it was. We weren't talking. We wouldn't be talking for like a week. He'd be mad at me. I maybe was on the court not paying attention, messing around. Some guy hit a ball over our head. But still, he would show up every day, 6 a.m. in the morning. He would pick me up. He'd pick me up. That was the dedication, this type of dedication that he had. And I mean, who does that? Ever, for their students, for their family. But he would do that for anyone. And I was one of the beneficiaries. You guys have heard this. I don't. It's sort of a broken record, but I'm going to say it again. He put the kids first. I don't have to tell you guys this. You all saw it. And it never seemed like he thought to himself, hey, what is in it for me? I never got that sense. One of the other stories that I want to share with you is, we talked about cards here, his joy of playing cards and games. He would always welcome his students at lunch to his classroom. Going through high school, I'm sure some of you will remember, it's not always easy. You don't always have your set friend group. You don't know where to be and who to hang out with. So having a teacher who you like, who can give you that space, you wouldn't go all the time, but you could go anytime to go and play cards. It was awesome. It was kind of awesome. It was a good way of building community. And so I learned to play crib with Riach, and we would play at lunch, and he would scribble on the table. And the first time you'd see a teacher scribble on the table, you'd think, you probably don't want to do that. The administration's not going to be very happy with you. And sure enough, he did it, and he would wipe the table afterwards, and the evidence would be gone. But I learned how to play crib with Riach. I learned how to play crib with some of the guys here at lunchtime when days were hard, when we didn't have other community to hang out with. And excuse me. The last time we played crib, October, he kicked my ass, so he was still with it. He was still really good. He played crib with some of the other guys here on other various visits when we visited him. So he was an awesome mentor, and I think I just wanted to leave some parting thoughts. I'm going to take a bit of his philosophy with me of not cutting kids. I can say without a doubt that the world is a better place for him having been with us. We're all better for it, and of that I'm sure. He seldom thought of, what is it in it for me and particularly when it came to his students. And you know, whether it's your personal or professional relationships, I think we can all take a little bit more of that and put other people first. And we can see the results here of the impact that it has on the world. So thank you, Riach, for everything you did for me, for others, for our community, and you will forever live in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hassan. And it's wonderful to have those memories because you know what? They're part of who we are now, as you can tell from him. So many years ago, and I can definitely say I remember how much trouble he used to cause too. But now that he's a father and a member of a community, like so many young people here, we want to make an impact. And I think that's what Bill was about. He was about impacting the young lives because he knew that they were going to make an impact in the community in one form or another. As a teacher, as a coach, as a person who would listen, as a person who would bark at you and say, don't do that, or this is what you got to do, right? And you could hear that in his voice very clearly. And it was never, it was just out of love, tough love. I think it always resonated with me. But we want to open up the time right now, the opportunity. You don't have to share for 5 minutes. If you have just a word, a sentence, we would love to hear from you. And if you would like to wait over, say, by Mr. Bevan over there, just walk over there, then we'll call you up next. But, oh, no, you can come up first. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. My name is Mark. I am Bill's nephew. Bill's my uncle. His sister was my mother. Bill was born 22 years after my mother. It was quite the outrage up in northern Scotland for a woman my grandmother's age to be having her third child 22 years after the last one. So he was a mistake, but a very fortuitous one. Something else I'd like to clear up that I heard before the introduction about Bill being a runner. He was a runner. He ran several marathons, and hold on to your seats. Anyone who knows anything about marathon times, he did a sub 3-hour marathon, which is quite incredible. He was about 150 pounds then, which might seem a little ridiculous. So my memories of Bill are running. We used to regularly run around Burnaby Lake, around Bunsen Lake. Those were the two main places where we would go. Bunsen Lake, as you might know, is a pretty challenging run. And then he started to get various injuries, as all runners will get as they get older. And he stopped running probably a good 25 years ago. And the result is a man who loved his treats. So my other memory of him was we used to get together a couple of times a year. I used to write poetry. I still do write poetry. And Bill wrote poetries. And Bill's grandfather wrote poetry. So it was a little bit in the family there. And all three of those kind of happened independently without any influence from the other person. Because Bill and I hadn't been in touch for quite a few years. And then when we got back in touch, we both realized we had this passion for writing poetry. And my wife, at the turn of the last millennium, suggested that Bill and I get together and collaborate to write a book of poems for the passage of the millennium. And that's what's over there. And on the cover of that book is a picture of me. I'm the young boy. And the older man there is my grandfather, who was also Bill's father. Anything you want me to say, Graham? Oh, you'll come up? Okay. I guess that's all I have to say. Poetry and running were two big things in my life with Bill. Thank you.
Hi there. I didn't expect to come up and speak, so I'll be fairly brief. That was my cousin there, Mark. My mother was his mother's sister. So there was, I got to get this right. So there was my mother, his mother, and Bill. We're all brothers and sisters, the three of them. My name is Graham Riach Thomas. I'm the same to Bill as Mark was. He's our uncle. So we were living at 4th and Larch in about 1957 in a fourplex, and Bill got me my first job when I was like 6 years old. So he was tough even back then. There was a skating rink. I believe it was a curling rink too, right at 4th and Trafalgar. Pretty hard to remember. That's a long time ago, and it wasn't there for that long. And he got me. He was a really good ice skater. So he was about 13 at the time, something like that, 14. And he would skate all the loose snow around after then Zamboni near the pit, and I would shovel it in. And I would get to skate for free for that. So that was pretty good. And I think the minimum wage at that time was 60 cents an hour. I don't remember getting any of it. I don't know if I ever got paid. I think Bill kept it. And here's a good little funny story about Bill. I actually saw him when he was about 160 pounds. It was pretty hard to believe after. He taught in LA for about a year. I believe he quit the Vancouver school. He took a retirement, and you're not allowed to teach back there for a few years or whatever. So he got a job in LA as a teacher. When he came back, that was the time he was running marathons and stuff, and he was like 160 pounds. You wouldn't even recognize him. So this is a good story. When he was about 17, going to Kitsilano High School, we lived right by the brewery at 10th and Vine there, Kitsilano. My grandmother was a really fine baker, and she baked these cherry pound cakes with big pieces of maraschino cherry in them, and this to die for gingerbread cake, really heavy and strong. And he loved them so much that she hid them, had to hide them. And she hid a gingerbread cake one time in the washing machine. But he found it. He found it. And when I was about 6 or 7, a good friend of his, I don't know if this was the rule or not, but we went out to a UBC golf course, and it was about 20 to 6 in the morning, and they were telling me that if you started before 6 o'clock, you didn't have to pay. So we didn't start on the first hole because it was just getting ready to be opened, I guess. So we went a few holes over, and we played some holes. But I don't know whether you were supposed to go back later on and actually pay, like an honor system, pay your green fees. I don't know what the green fees were back then, what, $3 or something? 58, 59. So I never really did find out about that. But Bill was really like a big brother to me. You can imagine, right? Him being about 13, 14, and me being about 6 or 7. Yeah, we played baseball. He actually coached a Babe Ruth team. So I played Babe Ruth and Connie Mack, and he played for I believe he played for the Marilomas, the team there for a year. And he was a really good hockey player. He played bantam and this and that. I believe he was going to have a tryout for the Canucks way back, so they started when, 1970, the Canucks? So 44, 54, 64. So he would have been about 27, 28 when he was going to go for his tryout. Now, I'm not sure, but I know he broke his elbow really bad, and he never had the same shot that he had before. But he was a really good hockey player. I'm not saying he would ever made the Canucks, but that's that. So there you have it. But he was like a really big brother to me, and Mark and I really miss him. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Riley. I got to spend the last 3 years that Riach was here at Burnett before he was forced to retire at 72 as one of his resource students. And basically, I just wanted to come up and say that he made an amazing impact on my life, made a lot of things easier for me because when I first came into that class, I couldn't do math, couldn't do anything. I was struggling with it all. And then he basically just came down and broke it all down for me. And basically, it just made life seem a lot more simpler in that the fact that there wasn't always a set way to do things and learn things, and that you just have to stop and think about it and go, oh, this is how I have to process this. And he was the biggest advocate for me in that sense that he basically made it easy for me to learn. And that was the biggest effect that he made it for me, because he made a very welcoming environment in his room, and that he had a very big community of every lunch there's going to be a card game going on, and whoever wanted to join could join in. And that was the biggest effect that it had on me, because I myself was a bit of a loner at the start of high school, as I feel like most people are, because they're like, I don't know where things are going to be going with all my friends because half my friends are gone. So it was a really nice, welcoming environment to come into here at Burnett. And it was just, that's really all I wanted to say, because it just made such a big impact on my life. And yeah, so thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy. I graduated from Burnett 6 years ago now, and I had Riach as my homeroom teacher around 8 years ago at grade 10. My fondest memory of Riach was whenever I felt bored in my own classes, I would often just wander around the hallways. Sometimes I found myself in Riach's classroom, and for some reason, I was too lazy to bring my own water bottle to get water. So what Riach would do is he would hold his pot of tea and airdrop it right down to my mouth when I was sitting flat in his chair. And he never had a problem with me going into his class or doing that multiple times. And, I just thought how compassionate of a human being he is. And I've had a lot of friends who told me that, before they met Riach, they could not do math, but after they met Riach, they were able to learn a lot from him. So I truly think that this is a very heartfelt farewell to one of the most valued members in our community. Thank you.
So my name is Toto. According to Bill, I'm taught. So I think I'm one of the few people who has the honor to spend my whole day with Riach dressed up, because he was my chauffeur for my wedding day. So it's very special. I think it was, at the time, I was helping out in Riach's resource room a lot, helping out with math and different things. And I don't know why I wanted to have PD Cruiser as a vehicle on my wedding day, and I was young and naive. That's 12 years ago. But I think that gave me a very good excuse to invite Riach to my wedding to spend the entire day with me that day. I was looking back in my wedding pictures, trying to find a nice picture of Riach, but I realized a lot of times he was just a picture of his back. He was always helping me out in this and that. I think my dad walked me down the aisle, but I think he's like my second dad, just was with me the whole entire day. And hearing my son's stories about him, I would say pouring his life for someone, even on my wedding day, that's meant a lot. Last year was my 10th anniversary. I was thinking about celebrating with him, but then it's just, I don't know, life happened. I never celebrated my own 10th anniversary. And so here, Riach, we'll cherish the time we have with you. That one day, my husband and I forever remember him. And yeah, we'll bring, whenever it happens, my 10th anniversary, you'll be there with us. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Colin, and it's unfortunate circumstances that we're all together, but it's all pretty cool to see how many people that Mr. Riach impacted. And I think it's a reflection of the room and just everybody that's been able to attend here today. And just, I was one of the very few kids that had Mr. Riach, not as never had him as a teacher in any of his classrooms, but was a player on his team, and I had him as a coach, but was also just a student of him. And he was just a great man that would teach you pretty much whatever you needed to learn, would help you with whatever it was. And one of the greatest things about Mr. Riach was that he would pull out the best in you, no matter what it was. And he always wanted you to do your best, to be your best, not for any like satisfaction for him, but for you, so that he knows that you could reach your true potential of who you are as a person, or whether it be academically, athletics, or just as a good overall person. And so I think we all can remember him for that, and we all love him for that, and just how much you guys being family, how much I can't imagine how much that means to you guys to see the impact that he has left on this world. And I read somewhere one time that you die 2 times in your life. Once when you physically go, and once when the last day your name is spoken. So if all of us can keep Riach in our hearts and remember him forever, and he'll live on for decades to come. Thank you.
You guys are better well dressed than I am, that's for sure. It's more like out of the rain style. My name is Michael. Just trying to examine people who I may or may not know, and I don't think any of you know me. I know maybe a couple of people, but just in passing. I go back as far as 1995, 96 with Mr. Riach. I didn't spend as much time with him as a lot of you all did, and I'm a little bit jealous after hearing a lot of the stories and the banter and all that. I don't have a lot as far as major stories or anything to really share, but what I can share is a little bit about myself and the experiences and his impact all those years ago when I ended up going through probably the worst thing that anyone can really happen in life. And I'll spare you the sob story of my own because there's enough tears and all that going on. But I was an insufferable 13, 14-year-old kid, as most of us are growing up. And Mr. Riach, when I was at Boyd, he would be a substitute, or he would cover certain classes, or I was in the resource class with Mr. Weatherall. I'm sure a few people might remember that name from ages eld. The one thing I took away from a lot of the stuff from what you all have shared today, and from my own fragmented memory of, again, 1,000 years ago, was that there's the two biggest things that I remembered him the most for, was that firmness and that kindness, and that went hand in hand, and above all else. And again, being an insufferable 13, 14-year-old who, a lot of people didn't have friends, a lot of teachers probably didn't want anything to do with me back then. You never forget the people that did you the kindness that carries on to who you become in the future. And it takes a while. It's not an immediate thing, and it's not like I'm 15, I have it all above board. No, you don't. You remember what people did for you, what people said to you, how people treated you, and that becomes some sort of a tool or a comfort, a learning experience, a learning lesson to carry on and adapt and evolve to the person that you are today, like I am today. I don't forget the names of the people that have ever done me a kindness or have never given up on me, like a lot did growing up. And at the same time, I I've benefited from it, and I pass that on for the last day that I breathe. So I want to thank you, everybody, for sharing your experiences. And I'm sorry I don't have any funny stories of my own, but looking forward to hearing more.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Celine. I am one of Riach's former students. I graduated class of 2020. I don't know if any of you might remember my face. It's almost been about 4 years now, ever since I've graduated. Some of the nicknames that Mr. Riach used to call me was my last name, Polat. Never called me by my first name. I don't know why. So it was either Polat, Polit. I don't know where he got that from. I think he just thought of it. And then Polar, like polar bear. I guess he just thought of me as like a polar bear. I don't know. I remember I was troublemaker back in high school. I was coming late to a lot of my classes. I struggled with math a lot, but he definitely made it a lot more easier for me, and for other students as well. A couple of memories I have with Riach was I came late to class one day, well, not one day, a couple times. Instead of me getting in trouble, he'd always ask me to make him his morning coffee in order to like not get me in trouble. So I would walk into his class, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm late. He's like, you're forgetting something. I'm like, what am I forgetting? Like, I'm sorry. He's like, my morning coffee, where's my morning coffee? I was like, oh, got it. I'd go to the kitchen, make his morning coffee for him, and then we'd just be good. I also remember every time we do math together or made poems, because poetry was also one of his favorite subjects and also one of mine, so we really shared that together. He'd always tell me, if you finish your homework now, you could take a nap for the rest of the class. And when I tell you, those are one of the best naps I've ever taken, ever. And that was the only way to get me to finish my work, swear to God. Riach was one of my favorite teachers, and he was also an amazing coach. I remember I had got cut from the volleyball team in 9th grade, so I know how it feels. And after that, I just lost motivation. I gave up after that, and I decided to give up on volleyball, but he wouldn't let me. He obviously told me no was never an option, and he always told me to never give up and always motivate me and push me and make sure I was always up there and just never let me fall. I remember his 7 a.m. practices that I never wanted to go to, because who wants to wake up at 6 in the morning just to play sports? Not me. But Riach pushed me and helped me and actually made me show up, surprisingly. And yeah, he got me back up to where I needed to be. He had such a kind heart. And he always did whatever it took in order for his students to be successful. And most importantly, he always cared for one another no matter what. I really struggled a lot back in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I remember I'd always go to Riach for advice, or like a lot of people said, he was like a father figure in a way. Every time I had problems, I'd always go to him and he'd help me out. But yeah, most importantly, he was definitely one of my favorite teachers, and he'll never be forgotten. Thank you.
Hi, guys. My name is Nick. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm just going to go on the top of my heart. I was walking by my elementary school the other day, McKay Elementary, the best elementary. And I was, yeah, Peter. And I was reflecting about all the guidance and the mentors and the teachers that have impacted me in my life. And when students tell you they don't have favorites, they're lying. They are lying. But the first memory I have of Mr. Riach was when I first got into his first class in my high school, actually. And I was kind of confused because I entered his classroom and it was such a small classroom. And then I remembered I was really bad at math. One of the things he taught me, and I still use today, it's very useful, is when you buy an item and you're trying to calculate the tax, you multiply the item by 1.12. That's something I've always used throughout my life. I'm glad I learned it from Mr. Riach. One of the values he instilled in me, I believe, is to never complain when things get bad. And I know this because whenever I complained in his classroom, he would say, "Nikki, get out! Shut up and get out!" And it's tough love, but that's something I remember Mr. Riach for. But yeah, I just wanted to say, very unique person, special person in my life, impacted me more than a lot of other people. And yeah, I just wanted to say he's gone, but never forgotten. I'm going to miss you, Bill.
Sorry, I'm too short. Some of you guys remember me as Stephanie Mendez. I know a lot of teachers remember the Mendez clang. Shout out to Leslie. I don't know how many times we ended up in the principal office, but it was a few times for sure. But we had such an amazing staff and teachers, and Riach definitely helped us get through high school. He would be so proud of Andres, who couldn't make it here today, Brenda, who couldn't make it here today. So I came here on their behalf. Sorry if I cry. He was an amazing teacher who made you feel like you were the smartest person in the world. I remember feeling so stupid in math class because I was just not good at math. To this day, still not good at math. I look at my partner, I ask him, what's 2 + 2? But I want to thank Riach for everything he's done, because we wouldn't be where we are today. I don't know if Andres would have made it. I don't know if I would have made it. Brenda was the only Grace who didn't probably end up in the principal office. But thank you so much, Riach. And thank you for all the teachers and staff.
I don't have anything prepared, as I don't think a lot of us have. I graduated in 2015 with the helps of Miss Lee, Miss Takata, and most importantly, Riach. Sorry if I cry. Riach was probably one of the only teachers, along with Miss Takata and Miss Lee, that ever cared about my education. From the I remember one of the first days I came into Burnett, he called me by my nickname that he never knew people called me. He called me Bainsy, and he let me know that, you know, it's not because you're academically challenged, it's because you had better things to do, didn't you, when you were doing things, like, because I skipped out a lot, I had better things to do, clearly, in the words of Riach. And he said I reminded him a lot of himself. And he knew how much I hated being in class, so he would make sure that I would finish all my work, I would go show him, and he'd be like, "Get the heck out of here, Bainsy, go home." And I'd be like, "Riach, it's lunch." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're done your work, go home. I know you don't want to be here." And he made me enjoy being at school, which was, in all my years of school, mind you, I transferred 2 schools, so I experienced a lot of teachers, so it was just very heartwarming. And one of my fondest memories was he would always encourage me to pursue my culinary arts, and he would always be very intrigued on what I would make. And I remember bringing a steak dinner or lunch to school, and I am not really that smart. I put a knife and a steak knife and a fork in my bag and just started cutting it in front of him. And he looked at me and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm just eating." He's like, "Did you have the knife in your bag this entire time?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Bainsy, leave it in the kitchen, you're gonna get suspended." So I just wanted to thank Riach for not getting me suspended that one time either. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, I'm kind of nervous, but here goes. My name's Donna, and I met Bill just before, a couple of years before he retired. And yes, he is a card player, and usually he doesn't give up, but My friends and I, and Ingrid and my husband, try to get Bill to teach us how to play contract bridge. Okay, so we started with 3 players and Bill, and then that didn't work. Then I asked another friend to join us who knew a little bit more about contract bridge, and that still didn't work. And I said, Bill, why are we doing this? Like, can you explain to me? And he is a very passionate contract bridge player. And so I got another couple of friends to say, come play with Bill. Like, I don't understand this. And so we tried for quite a while, and finally, and this is so unlike Bill, he says, you guys can't play. Let's just go play crib. So then I'm playing crib, and I'm going 15-2, 15-4, a run of 3, and he goes 16, and the king don't play. But yes, the king does play. And I'm so glad I met him, and thank you to his family for being here and everybody else. Thanks.
I will keep this nice and short, but I graduated in 2012. Some of you may recognize me or my family. I remember meeting Mr. Riach on my first week of grade 8. I'll be honest, I was petrified because my sister had gone there before and was Mr. Leslie's favorite student, okay, to say the least. So I'm like, great, my sister set this wonderful reputation. Mr. Leslie's gonna love me, great. So I went to Burnett, and Tombert actually brought me into Riach's room and was like, hey, like, I think you'd benefit from this room. And so when I first walked in, he's like, oh, you're Steeler's sister. And I'm like, oh, great. Didn't call me Morgan. He'd call me Megan, Steeler, Steele, something like that, whatever he felt like that day. I, again, was always late coming to school. I was one of those kids that didn't want to try. And he pushed me. And he always told me, he always asked me every day, Morgan, did you eat? Go grab yourself a cookie from the cafeteria, then we'll start your math. Just have a seat. Now, there's a few people in this audience that played a huge role in me graduating. Marcy, Bim, Jana, Tombert, Mr. Gog, even Mr. Leslie. Definitely played a huge role in me graduating. But I have to say that Bill really pushed me. He also was really, really, connected to me through my family. He would always check in and ask how my sister was. Unfortunately, my sister did pass away, and I did actually reach out to him at that moment, and he said, I'm so sorry to hear that. I would never expected that Caitlin passed away. So at that moment, he told me to keep in touch. Life got busy. One of the last things I said to him when I graduated was, Bill, I really want to be a mom. I want to start a family. I want to give my kids the life I never got, and I want, to use you as a guidance. Well, here I am, turning 30 this year. I've got 3 kids, and I wouldn't change that. And you know what? Life got busy. I was just thinking about Bill, and I told a few of my friends, I need to go see Mr. Riach. I really missed him. I keep up with Jana on Facebook. I see a lot of her posts and things, and it always made me think of Riach. There's another person that also made a really big impact, which was Miss Zucolo, Lisa. If I wasn't going to the left side to Mr. Riach's room, I was going to the right side to Lisa's room. Whether it be math, science, anything that I needed help with, they were there. So thank you all for playing a big part, and let's remember Riach, right?
Hello, everyone. My name is Osiris. I also don't have a script, so if I stutter, I'm also really nervous as fuck, but, that's just kind of me as a person. So I remember Mr. Riach coming into grade 8 from Spalaquux Elementary School. Unfortunately, I was a very troubled kid with a lot of anger issues and a lot of other stuff going on, coming from a foster family. And Riach noticed that right away the first day I met him. Not gonna lie, I was a little intimidated by the size of him, because when back in grade 7, I was a tiny boy. Now I'm kind of big, and I always thought this guy's gonna kick my ass during school and force me to do things I don't want to do. He did, but in a positive way, and because of him, I was able to actually graduate and get through all my problems growing up as a kid, and I was able to become the person I am today. And because of that, it was primarily through volleyball. I was able to relieve my stress, my anger, any problems I had through that were through physical stuff like volleyball, going for runs. even having tea with him from time to time and having crib. I remember the first time I played crib with him, somehow I miraculously won like the very first few games I won. My ego went straight through the roof with that, and I'm like, yeah, beat that. And he pretty much humbled the hell out of me, and I stopped playing after that. I'm like, that's it, my career's done, it's over. So honestly, if it wasn't for Riach and helping me guide me to where I am today, I would hate to say this, but I wouldn't be here because of him. So thank you to Riach, and thank you for all for coming.
Hello, my name is Raina, and I graduated in 2003. I believe I even started out, Mr. Riach and Jen, I think we were out in the portable when I first began, and then eventually we moved in here. I have lots of fond memories of Mr. Riach, and I know a lot of them were, I loved writing on the table and all that with the math. I also had trouble with math. But with Riach, anything that I think when I went to the resource room and just sat down, I felt so more relaxed, more calm, more confident. He just made you feel like you could do anything, and that when I went on to my next classes, I would just kind of take that, what I was learning from him, and take that into my next classes and just try and do my best. I also remember it was always, it kind of felt like you got a nice little gift when you got to go to the coin. I don't know if there's anyone here that got to go to the coin. I always felt very special when I got to go there. That was really cool. But I just want to say that, yeah, I will miss Riach a lot. He was a good man and a good person. So I think I feel very honored to have known him. I feel honored that he taught me, and I learned so much. And I feel that too, that my career now, I'm an EA for doing that for 19 years now. I think, get some of his wisdom and stuff in me, and I try and pass that on to my students as well. So yes, so thank you, Mr. Riach.
Hello, it's nice to be back here after 8 long years since I graduated. Hello to some of the teachers. I'm sorry I never came and visited. But I did always, even as recently as just a few weeks ago, still talk about Riach, and I honestly would not be able to even come back and visit here if it wasn't for him. He understood so many years before I ever figured out that I am definitely autistic. And he would let me just draw over the entire wood grain of all of the desks in his room, because he knew that if he didn't let me get it out of my system, I wasn't going to do any work for the rest of the month until I could. And just him being able to see that in me and understand, even without explaining it to me, that that's something that needs to happen before anything else can get done, still changes my life to this day. I still give myself that little time to draw before I do anything. He really, only reason I graduated was because I ended up in that math class. He got me my first job. He would come and visit me when I worked that 6 a.m. shift at that McDonald's, and he would come get his coffee and muffin and everything. And it was just such an amazing thing to still know that even if I hadn't seen him for years or that kind of thing, he would still be just as excited to see me as any day that I could just walk into his classroom while I was still a student here. And it's just so awesome that there's so many people here from so many different decades of the impact that he had. And it's so nice to hear all these nice stories about him and everything. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything prepared, but I just also wanted to share a story or just a couple memories of Riach. I graduated in 2016, and I had the pleasure of being in his math class for a full year because I tried Math 10 and I failed miserably. So I took or 10 and 11 back to back in both semesters. And I was going through a little bit of an emo phase at the time. And I would come late to his class because I had to do my makeup in the bathroom. And I would have super dark eyeshadow and eyeliner. And, you know, I look back at pictures now and think, oh, God. But Riach, I would come into his room late and he would always call it art. And he would always tell me how good I looked. And yeah, it's just, if it wasn't for his class, him, and I spent a lot of time in Miss Barry's room as well. If it wasn't for them two, especially my grade 12 year, I don't think I would be where I am today. So I just wanted to come up here and thank Riach for everything and what he did for so many of my friends and students at the school. I know a lot of us will always take it with us for the rest of our lives. So thank you.
Well, if everybody's coming up. Some of you guys recovered some memories for me today. Riach got me into the long run in grade 8. I was the worst. I came in last every time. But he looked at that huffing, wheezing little guy dragging his feet across the line. He's like, I need that dude for my volleyball team. So, as my friend over there, one of us is Kelvin, one of us is Kylie. He called us Kel and Kel. I don't know if he ever actually learned our names. So anyways, I was rubbish. And I was more likely to hit it with my foot than my hands. But I got it into the basketball net this one time, and he promised me a trip to the Golden Coin. He still owes me, but I'm going to let it slide. Rest in peace.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Nomalini, and Bill coached 3 of my boys in volleyball. He was, well, like everyone has said, he was kind, he loved everyone, he made time for everyone, and I had the pleasure of driving to volleyball tournaments with him for, I don't know, a decade maybe. And those were good memories. He and I would have lunch together when we were in whatever city it was. He made a big impact on our family. And my favorite memory, I think, we were at a volleyball tournament in Burnaby, and I don't remember the details. For whatever reason, for one of the games, there wasn't going to be a scorekeeper. And so Bill convinced me that I could be the scorekeeper for this game, and I had never kept score for volleyball. So here I am doing my best for this, and it's a tournament, and somehow I must have made a mistake on something, and the ref got involved, and the fireworks from Bill, because he was standing up for me, and he was yelling and pacing and waving his arms, and I honestly don't remember. I mean, it must have gotten worked out because we continued on the volleyball game. I believe we actually won that tournament. Anyway, good memories, and he'll be missed. He was a great man. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Amazing stories. And thank you, family, for sharing the part that we don't know. But it is who he was, right? He is the only coach that I know of that has ever been given a red card in volleyball. And he's the only coach that I know that's been ejected from a volleyball game. And I was the assistant coach, and I didn't know what I was doing. And all of a sudden, Bill's gone, and I'm like, we have like 2.5 sets more to go. anyway, and now I'm a referee, and I don't know if I've kicked any coach out. So it's. So thank you very much for sharing, everyone. There will be some light refreshments ready here shortly. What a incredible way to remember somebody that impacted us all. There are no current students here right now, but I think 6:30 Monday is a good start. Volleyball season's coming up. I think maybe I'll start morning practices to carry on that tradition. Maybe. Six o'clock is early. Anyway, thank you for coming. Feel free to share stories amongst yourselves. There's a table there with some pictures and history. Anything you want to say, Albert?
Yes, and there's also some poetry books there as well. If you'd like to take one, you're welcome to do that as well. There's not enough for everyone. Sorry about that. I guess my last thought was just remember how he has impacted you, and his desire is always to impact others. And so, as someone said earlier, do what he did. Just carry it and then pass it along, because it's free to give. Love is free to give. So wish you the very best. Please enjoy the refreshments on the side there, and maybe share some more stories with the people beside you. Have a good day.